within you. So if any concerns come up or questions, or we could adjust them at that time.
Do we do this every 5 years?
We do this every 5 years.
And so there are policies that have been removed that are completed.
Correct.
Can we get a list of those?
Yeah, we'll get you a list. Just briefly, like Mike mentioned, a big one to get adopted was the zoning districts allow the emergency shelters in Hurlong and the rest of the county in our CTs.
So there's no new policies that are going to restrict potential growth in this document?
The ones that you'll see in this document are ones consistent with Mike stated, disadvantaged, mental disabilities,
I read it,
etc. Nothing proposing to rezone or taking these zones to allow additional development.
I want to make sure I didn't miss something.
Any other forms? I got several questions. The first one is on page 13. In your draft there, under professional scientific management administration, you have a number, you have minus 257. And then in other services down farther down, you have minus 149. What's the...
This is numbers provided by the American Community Survey by the census, and what they do is they take the county as a whole and also Susanville as well, and subtract out Susanville from the county. And this is the number they came up with. Obviously, you can't have a negative number, so I don't know how that happened, but that can be corrected. It's just an error, basically. Just for your clarification or for your knowledge, the American Community Service or Survey is an estimate based on the 2010 census, but what it does is gives a plus or minus, depending on what the category is, 200 under or 200 above. That's why you get a negative number. So in reality, that demographic analysis isn't, I wouldn't say, very accurate. The best thing you can use is 2010, but we have to use what the state provided us information for this, and this is what they gave us. We can correct this and put it back to 2010, which would be more, although 2010 may not have this information of the 2010 census because it didn't have everything the 2000 census had in it. So we have to use what's available. So in this case, you obviously can't have a negative number. So something's incorrect in there, and I can go back and correct it. And it won't change as far as us sending it to HCD or your approval to send it there. It doesn't really make that much difference as far as the housing element itself is concerned. It's just showing the state that this is what the employment is estimated to be in the county. And they use that information to see if we have proper policies and programs in the documents. So.
Well, it just goes to further my point I've been saying for years on the housing element, because it's fuzzy math, and it's below it's below in. It's unfortunately have to do it.
Yeah, it's definitely fuzzy math. I'll give that to you. Yeah.
On page 29, you have the Mountain Jewel Home from Little Valley listed as a facility for the elderly, and that's more of a disabled outfit.
It's for development for disabled. That's what it's listed for by the state. So
what would fall into here? It's under the category of elderly.
Well, it's adult. Yeah.
It's for adult disabled.
Right. Okay. That's what you're saying.
29.
I'm sorry I didn't get this till last night. I have a million more questions because I hate this document. Page 39.
Don't take it out on me. Okay.
For some reason I wrote down page 39 and I go there and I don't have anything. On the farm workers, what page is that on?
52 sewer and water.
Anyway, in there in the farm workers, I had it somewhere. Okay, let's go to page 53 right now. Water and sewer connections for unincorporated parts of Lassen County. Out in Hurlong, you have 1,275 sewer connections for Hurlong. I mean, is that even right, Tom?
This is off their master plan. So
probably better to be identified as potential.
Well, that's actually what they say, according to the master plan, and they're also connected to, there's a community right next to it that they incorporated into their system.
Yeah, probably not.
So anyway, this is, like I said, it's from their master plan, so I would assume it's correct.
Who's master plan?
The Herlaw Public Utilities District.
Does seem awful high. Perhaps it includes some of the connections on the bays.
Yeah, it's Patton Village, I think, is the name of the community.
West Patton Village.
Yeah, and there's a couple areas next to the base, like you said, that are in that too. I remember looking at the map. That in itself, to me, I thought, well, that's kind of high considering they only have 827 water connections. I would have some with sewer, but.
I have another question, of course I can't find it again, but anyway, on the farm works, you say that there's 96, I want to say 96 farm workers, there's like 2,700 farm workers, and here again, I'm calling BS.
And again, these are numbers that are given to us by the Census, Department of Finance. These are numbers that are that we have to show that we utilize in this element to comply with state law. They don't include the local knowledge. They're in Sacramento and they're using the numbers they deem are appropriate to utilize.
And actually, you're probably
That's
talking.
on page 38.
Right. Those numbers are actually provided by the Department of Agriculture. And you can see it says 2007 because they don't have the newest one out yet, which is 2012. You know, it's a year and a half, almost 2 years old. But that's numbers the statistics that we get from the USDA. So obviously we can't go around and count everybody, but this is
I
what they
think,
say.
with those of us that have a chance to strawberries, this out there, they've got a huge complex. And so this may not be year-round numbers, but I think.
Well, no, but even seasonal, how many people do they employ out there?
About 550.
Yeah.
Okay,
So these are way off.
So you take 600 off there, that still leaves 2,000 people for 95 employers.
So I'm
Well,
not
that's, you're looking at 10 to 20 people. It's just wrong. And all this stuff, they use all this stuff and they force us to do this stuff and use all this fuzzy math and it doesn't show the true picture. And that's why I can't stand this thing. It's baloney. And they use it to put all these programs on us and they hold the grants and everything over our heads and do all this stuff. And that's just what I don't agree with.
You know, I think you're going to make a fine
the program. The thing about it is you got to remember the state laws are for the state as a whole, not for Lassen County in particular.
Well, but they use this stuff here from Lassen County to apply from state. That's the way.
I totally agree with you, and that's why you don't really need emergency shelters in Lassen County, but for some reason they require you to have it. But in order for this law, or in order for the housing element to be comply with state law, we have to put those programs in there requiring the state to do this, or the county to do this sort of thing. And if you're not in compliance with state law, then you don't get your grant funding for all the programs that you have. Not only that, but your housing element is out of compliance, is not legal which makes your general plan not legal because the element is one of the general plan elements. So, and it does happen. Counties and cities get sued all the time because their housing element is not compliant with state law. So, and I hate to say it, and I agree with you 100%. I'm sorry?
Where do those lawsuits come from?
all
A lot of them come from the housing advocates. So
Okay.
I have a listed back at my office, and there's probably 30 or 40 cities that have been sued because their housing element isn't compliant with state law. So,
Would it be possible to footnote these numbers with a disclaimer that anecdotally they appear to be inaccurate, but they've been taken from the USDA census?
right, it could, and I agree with you. Because you live here, you know a lot better than obviously that. Washington D.C. is going to know what's going on in this county. So, and also this is actually 2007 is actually very dated information. It's 2014 now, but that's the most up-to-date, accurate information, not accurate, but up-to-date information we have as far as agricultural is concerned in the county at this point. So,
Supervisor Chapman has. Yeah, let me add an extra layer of frustration to your frustration. That's a long time ago, we just kind of gave up with this housing thing, but we early on ran into the same thing, and the data, a lot of it is where is it coming from? My question, though, is once you get this approved with the state housing folks, okay, and you get ready to adopt it, what do you do with the environmental? What environmental document has to go with this?
we're doing a negative declaration for this because your general plan is fairly new, and that's sometimes you can do an amendment to the general plan depending on how old your general plan is. If it's really recent, then we do an amendment, which is almost nothing. They usually end up in a negative declaration. Sometimes, if you have a city or a county that requires a rezoning of a large area of land, you have to do an environmental EIR on it. So, in this case, we're just doing a negative deck on it. So,
The reason why I ask that question, what makes it pertinent, is that once you accept whatever the erroneous facts that may be here populated by whatever office, and they come from, it doesn't come from one place, it comes from multiple layers and multiple folks, then through the environmental document, you have to basically rationalize and justify what you know is obviously an erroneous, maybe, set of numbers. And back in the good old days, when we used to fuss with the State Department of Housing and Community Development, I had studied CEQA at that time and kind of knew all the ins and outs of it. And